To the President of the Republic, Celal Bayar, and the Cabinet, Ankara. We Nur students have for the past 20 years been the target of unprecedented penalties and torments. We have exercised patience. Now, Almighty God has sent you to assist us. Utilizing the correct legal procedures, 3 courts over 13 years have been unable to find in 130 books and 1,000 letters the reason for those torments. As witnesses to this, we cite the Court of Appeal and Denizli Court. I gave up politics 30 years ago. Now, together with congratulating the President of the Republic and the Cabinet on their taking over the leadership of the Ahrar and taking on themselves the nation's destiny, I am divulging a fact. It is like this. Those who have attacked us and punished us in the courts advanced the possibility that the Nur students might exploit religion for politics and suggested that they were doing so. So, in the face of those tyrants, we declared the following in our defenses supported by thousands of proofs, and we still say, although they have vindictively scrutinized more than 3 sackloads of documents over a period of 3 years, our enemies have realized that they can convict us of nothing, since the basis of our way is not exploiting religion for political ends, but to make it the tool of nothing except divine pleasure, not even the world's or worldly rule. They could not even find a pretext for the arbitrary sentences they gave us, so the appeal court quashed their decision. We do not exploit religion for politics. Our duty in the face of those who in bigoted fashion exploit irreligion for politics to the awesome harm of this country and nation is, when the definite necessity arises that we do consider politics, to make politics the tool and friend of religion so that it may lead to winning the brotherhood of 350 million brethren for the brothers in this country. In short, in response to our tormentors fanatically exploiting politics for irreligion, we have worked for the happiness of this country and nation by making politics the tool and friend of religion. My brothers, I consider this appropriate and refer it to you for your consultation. Said Nursi. My dear loyal brothers, I was going to write you a letter today. I was feeling agitated due to my serious indisposition when just at that moment Mustafa Gül and Ibrahim Gül appeared. They were both medicine for me and consolation and the cause of great joy, so I am sending those 2 blessed brothers to you as a letter and as my deputies. They are both Saids and are visiting you and congratulating you in my place and will tell you the other things I had to say to you. Said Nursi. President Celal Bayar's telegraph replied to our master's telegraph of congratulation. To Bediüzzaman Said Nursi, Emirdağ. I was exceedingly touched at your cordial congratulations and offer my thanks. Celal Bayar. In His name be He glorified. Peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings forever and ever. My dear loyal brothers, firstly, we congratulate you on the month of Ramadan, which with its worship wins a permanent life of 80 years, and beseech from divine mercy that every one of its nights will yield as many benefits for us as the night of power, and that in accordance with the inner meaning of the division of labor, and each select nurture receiving a share of the spiritual gains of all the nurtures, each will be enabled to perform with thousands of tongues and true brotherhood and sincerity his worship, supplications, seeking of forgiveness and glorifications, and so do I hope. Secondly, together with the Risale-i Nur's total moral victory, the Mason section of the irreligious and the atheist section of the communists are making mountains out of molehills and trying under false pretenses to prevent the Risale-i Nur's free publication. For once again they have meaninglessly and without reason postponed our court hearing for 35 days. They even had a noisy argument with our lawyer so as not to return our Qur'an, but divine providence thwarts all their schemes. The Risale-i Nur is spreading itself magnificently and enthusiastically among the enlightened youth of Istanbul and Ankara, and is giving instruction to its students. One result of this moral victory is that the enlightened young people are sending thanks and congratulations with hundreds of signatures to the Prime Minister, who is endeavoring to have the call to prayer restored to its original Arabic. Thirdly, the students here send you congratulations for Ramadan and have chosen some examples of the many instances of the former communists' torments, having copied them out and are sending them attached. Perhaps at some time they may publish them in a newspaper article. I send many greetings to all my brothers and sisters and offer prayers for them. From your brother who due to illness cannot perform his worship in all respects and is in need of the nurture's spiritual help, and for their praying in his stead and of their spiritual gains. Said Nursi. In his name be he glorified. The first example of the hundreds of illegal torments wrongfully inflicted on our master while the Republican People's Party was in power. One example of the injustices perpetrated on our master over the last 25 years by an absolute despotism and due to the stratagems of an atheistic current the likes of which have not been seen this age on the face of the earth, is this. One day, when leaving his house to go out into the countryside in a closed car for a breath of fresh air, a high-ranking official wanted to accost him in connection with his dress. We say the following in the face of this impudence, which was in 5 ways illegal and in 5 ways entirely lacking in conscience. Our master is someone who could not endure to be slighted by the domineering behavior of a sultan, and in reply to Hürşit Pasha, the chief of the military court, and its other members, in the second constitutional period, declared, "If constitutionalism consists of one party's absolutism, let all mankind and the jinn witness that I am a reactionary and ready to sacrifice 1,000 lives if I had them for a single matter of the Sharia," who told Mustafa Kemal in the National Assembly, "Anyone who does not perform the prayers is a traitor, and traitors do not have the right to govern," who has never given up his Islamic dress, and who told the governor of Ankara, called Nevzat, who wanted to interfere with his dress and received a blow by killing himself, "This turban comes off with this hat," pointing to his neck and rejecting any interference, whose turban they could not remove in any of the courts of Sparta, or Eskişehir, or Denizli even, and with the exception of the last Afyon trial, he was not ordered to even when there were crowds of thousands of people and 20 police. Thus, the intention of those ill-mannered officials in intervening in his dress, although he is a recluse, and insulting him, was directly on account of anarchy to cast the country and nation into danger. It was also entirely illegal. He is a person who for years and with unequaled self-sacrifice and abnegation of self has striven in the most arduous conditions to serve with his wondrous works consisting of 130 treatises the belief of this country and nation. To assault such a person in this way surely means assisting the coward enemies of this country who strive to destroy and corrupt the nation and its youth. We understood from the fact that our master, who could never endure insults, endured and attached no importance to the denigrating abuse of a couple of aberrate wretches in Afyon, joined and incited by an atheist mason, was that he has sacrificed even his honor, reputation, self, spirit, and tranquility so that no harm should come to this country and nation because of himself. Zübeyir from Konya. My dear loyal brothers, firstly, we congratulate you on the joyous reciting of the Arabic call to prayer from the minarets, for it is the introduction to great festivals for both yourselves and this country and the world of Islam, and delivers the good news that the marks of Islam will once again shine forth in this country. and saying Amin to your acceptable prayers and worship in Ramadan, which wins an 80-year life of worship, I beseech divine mercy that every night of Ramadan will gain for you the reward of the night of power. I request spiritual assistance from you this Ramadan, since I am unable to work well due to my extreme weakness and illness. Secondly, one of my greatest wishes is to pass the last part of my life in the region of Sparta. I said, as did the Nur Efe, Sparta is blessed for me with its very stones and soil. Even whenever during the last 25 years I have felt angry in my heart with the former government, which ill-treated and tormented me, I never felt angry at the Sparta authorities and forgot the others for their sake. I am particularly grateful to the zealous lovers of freedom there, called Democrats, who are true patriots and have started to repair the damage, and who appreciate the Risale-i Nur and the Nurjus. I offer many prayers for their success. God willing, those lovers of freedom will do away with the old absolute tyranny and work for the establishment of a freedom that is congruent with the Sharia. Thirdly, for a particular reason, I have to stay here for some time following the festival. A month or two after that, I shall accept to go wherever you deem suitable on the decision of the leading members of the Madrasatul Zahra and the agreement of the young Sayyids in Istanbul and Ankara universities. Since you are my true heirs and you perform my duties in this world 1,000 times better than I do, I am leaving it to you to decide where my last dwelling place should be in this life. Fourthly, I appoint you to deputize for me if you reply to the letters of Ahmed Nazif, Ahmed Feyzi, Halil Ibrahim, Hasan Atef, and the Nurjus in Bucak, Eflani, and Istanbul who have sent their congratulations and shown their strong attachment. My dear loyal brothers, firstly, in connection with the vigil of the night of power, which according to a hadith falls in the second half of Ramadan, particularly the last 10 days, and the odd numbers and especially on the 27th, and which may win an 80-year life of worship, I beseech divine mercy that every one of you together with all the Nur students, and particularly this wretched, most faulty, ill, weak brother of yours, will receive a share, and that your supplications will be accepted at the divine court, affirmed by thousands of amins. Secondly, the young Sayyids in the university are in truth performing in Ankara and Istanbul the tasks of the Madrasatul Zahra, leaving no need for this wretched Sayyid. As an example of the Risale-i Nur's being in every way sufficient, I am now sending you attached the statements they wrote addressing the deputies for your information and to be put at the beginning of the 70 copies of the biography, which was also prepared by them, so as to be sent to the 70 deputies. If you consider it appropriate, the statements may be added to the biography as a sort of addendum together with Sungur's defense for the Education Ministry, which I sent to you previously, and Mustafa Osman's petition to Minister of Justice, with 50 to 60 copies either written out by hand or typed or duplicated in the new letters in Inebolo. I leave this to your discretion. Thirdly, the leading members of the Madrasatul Zahra are my genuine deputies. They may reply in my place to the letters sent to me. In particular, they should reply suitably to those persons whose names are written in Husrev's letter. We are sending attached part of the reply to the letter Ahmed Feyzi wrote you. We congratulate all our brothers and sisters on the blessed month of Ramadan and its nights, and send greetings and prayers and request their prayers. In His name be He glorified. We are informing Sabilur Rashad, the disseminator of truth, of the treatment meted out by the People's Party, which was illegal in 100 ways. Our master, Bediüzzaman Said Nursi, whose illness from poison was worsening so that he feared for his life, sent 8 books he had bought with his own money to his brother, a mufti, to protect them. For some secret purpose, the official in the Emirdağ post office seized the books as though he were a policeman and in person went and told the gendarmes, the kaymakam, and the judiciary and found Afyon, and creating a furore had the books handed over to the court. The books, however, consisted of the following: 5 were court defenses and their addenda, and 3 were works the acquittal of which the present Minister of Justice, Halil Özyörük, had 3 times ordered and Denizli Court had returned. Afyon Court, too, quashed their judgments and had acquitted them. It is true that Fuat Sirmen, who is the former Justice Minister and a communist, had denounced the works to the former cabinet and had attempted to have the 400-page Zulfikar collection, which is a completely true and beneficial commentary on the Qur'an, prohibited on the pretext of 2 pages about 2 verses written 30 years earlier, whereas now the works of the communists and Masons are permitted despite being extremely harmful for the nation and country. So, we suggest that the subject is most true and useful commentary on the Qur'an, which, as is testified to by thousands of people, has saved the belief of thousands to such treatments as though it consisted of harmful wrecks, and to cause our master such sorrow just when he is ill and vulnerable because of his brother was illegal in multiple ways. Secondly, an extremely devious and hidden aspect of this matter was this: our master had gently encouraged his students to assist the Democrat Party materially and morally. The aberrate tyrants of the People's Party understood this, so, making mountains out of a molehill, they instigated these incidents, for everywhere these books were being sent hither and thither by post and from Istanbul and other places, and there was no interference. The incident was part of a cunning and unforeseen stratagem. Thirdly, the former government is now being criticized in the press 1,000 times more harshly than the 2 aforementioned verses in Zulfikar, so the interpretation of them can in no way be considered culpable. It is understood from this that the treatment mentioned above was a continuation of the People's Party's arbitrary measures and an example of their assertions that although the government is in the hands of the Democrats, true power and the actual executive remains in their hands. In the name of the Emirdağ Nur students, Mehmet, Ibrahim, Ziya, etc. To the President of the Republic, the Cabinet, the Prime Minister's Office, the Ministry of Justice, and Directorate of Religious Affairs, Ankara. I am explaining a few points for those persons who work for true justice and freedom. First point, both Denizli Court and Ankara Criminal Court scrutinized all the parts of the Risale-i Nur, and together with the committee of experts took the decision that there was no objection to acquitting them and returning them to their owners, and they also acquitted Said and his companions and discharged them. Although the Court of Appeal ruled that this same decision was res judicata, now the same Court of Appeal has again quashed Afyon's completely baseless decision against Said and his friends, and the quite illegal seizing by 2 people with personal malice against Said of those same books and his wonderfully handwritten miraculous Qur'an. And although some of the zealous, patriotic Democrat leaders who have saved the country and nation from the vindictive despotism of the former party accept and appreciate fully those treatises, for 3 years to cause penurious people like us a loss of thousands of liras, and to prolong for 3 years a case that has been acquitted 3 times is an extraordinary injustice and the result of personal animosity. For 20 months, while in absolute solitary confinement, they did not allow my assistants even to have contact with me. On being released, they posted 2 policemen on my door. Also, in order to disparage those genuinely God-fearing Nur students, just because of their pity, they held their trial at the time of the evening prayer, causing them to perform it later, and thus perpetrating a willful injustice. Also, one time they also confiscated the entire Risale-i Nur in Sparta, and again returned to it having studied it. Since now in the Democrats' time, there is a revival of such marks of Islam as the call to prayer and religious instruction and work with the Qur'an, and a start has been made to repair the harms caused to the Qur'an by the former party, and since the works of the irreligious, the Masons, and the Communists are being published, for sure, those people who are seizing such blessed collections as Zulfikar, the Staff of Moses, and the Shining Lamp, which have been commanded and appreciated by leading Islamic scholars in such places as Mecca, Medina, and Damascus, and have been read to the scholars of the Directorate of Religious Affairs, and have silenced the scientists, are not doing this on account of justice, right, and truth, but with malicious intent on account of communism and masonry. Moreover, in addition to those books, they have confiscated and held for 3 years the miraculous Qur'an, which is worth thousands of liras, and in which the name of Allah is written in gold, and which the head of directorate holds in esteem and is trying to have printed. Because I am seriously ill from poison and unable to defend my rights, I am appointing Sungur as my deputy. I await from the justice-loving ministers of the new government that they held the distraction caused by the former government and their past 20 years of tormenting me. I appoint Mustafa Sungur, one of my brothers, as my deputy. In the name of the Nur students, Said Nursi. A significant fact and a conversation of the University Nurjos with the Democrats. At the wish of the nation, the Democrats have secured the free expression of the marks of Islam. Now, the sole means of gratifying both the country and the nation is to make the movement for Islamic unity a source of support for themselves. Formerly, the self-interested policies of the British, French, and Americans opposed and prevented this, but now they are in need of it. For communism, masonry, atheism, and irreligion lead directly to anarchy, and it is only Islamic unity based on the truth of the Qur'an that may resist these awesomely destructive forces. And again, it is only Islamic unity that may be a means of saving both humanity from this peril, and this country from foreign invasion, and this nation from anarchy. Therefore, it is essential that the Democrats rely on this truth with all their strength and take a stand against the communist and Masonic currents. By leaving free the call to prayer, they gained strength for themselves 20 times greater than their own power. They won the nation's love and made it indebted to them. With their support for Islamic unity, the Nurjos form a significant mass backing the Democrats. However, some extremist sections of the former party with Masonic and communist leanings are preparing to deal the Democrats two heavy blows. In the former pre-Republican period, they swiftly overturned the liberals when they twice came to power, and also hanged numerous members of their ally, the Mohammedan Union. They have tried to show that the Democrats, known as the Ahrar, are more irreligious than they are themselves, and now it has clearly emerged that under the pretense of religiosity, some of them are trying to incite the Democrats against religion, wanting them to cause harm to it like they do themselves. They are even trying to win the support of some official religious scholars and incite them against the Democrats, and to crush the Nurjos who, being on the side of the Democrats, may oppose them. Then the ulama would not have recourse to the Democrats by means of the Nurjos, for the ulama inclined to whichever side the Nurjos incline to, there is no movement more powerful that they may join. Since the truth of the matter is this, the Democrats are obliged to placate and gratify both the Nurjos and the ulama and the nation so as to prevent the extremist Mason and communist elements of the former party taking advantage of these points and attempting to overturn the Democrats. For the former party oppressed both the religious scholars and members of the Sufi orders throughout the past 25 years, forcing them to tawdi to them. It is absolutely essential so as not to lose the assistance of the Americans and their allies that with all their strength the Democrats strive to revive and repair the marks of Islam as with the call to prayer. Regrettably, some extremists, Masons, and communists pass themselves off as Democrats despite being opposed to them, with the intention of inciting the Democrats to take destructive measures and show them to be opposed to religion so as to overthrow them. In the name of the Nur students and Nur University students, Sadık, Sungur, Ziya. In His name be He glorified. Peace be upon you, and God's mercy and blessings for ever and ever. Our dear, loyal, devoted brother, Haji Ali, we have received your valuable letter, which especially pleased our master. Our master says, at the present time, the Risale-i Nur is sufficient. Scholars testify that they have benefited in 1 year from the Risale-i Nur to the extent they benefited from studying in the madrasas for 10 years. Thousands testify to this. Haji Kılınç Ali has embraced the Risale-i Nur this last year and a half and has read part of it, so in my view is a Nur student of 20 years standing. I mention him by name among the select students and make him a partner in my spiritual gains, so his share may be written in his book of good works. For his part, he is obliged to devote his life to the Risale-i Nur. A significant instance of wisdom in his having been unable until now to go to Al-Azhar University may be that the Risale-i Nur should suffice him. I nourish powerful hopes that he will be able to found a Nur school in Urfa, which is close to Aleppo and Damascus. Mullah Abdul Majid in Damascus, who was an invaluable student of the old Sayyid, and Sayyid Salih, who is one of the Nur students in Urfa, and the devoted Nur student who is with him, should get in touch with him. I send many greetings to both Mullah Abdul Majid and Haji Ali, and to everyone in Damascus who is attached to the Risale-i Nur, and I request that they pray for me in that blessed place. Our heroic brother, Haji Ali, our master often speaks of your devotion. We too applaud and congratulate you. The enduring one, he is the enduring one, our master's faulty students in attendance on him, Sungur, Zübeyir, Ziya. My dear brother, firstly, mashallah 1,000 times over, there are almost no errors in the words collection, just a few words, which I am sending attached. Secondly, if you consider it appropriate, take these 50 liras I am sending you and take it on my account in lieu of the collections in the cart. If you don't agree to this, take it as the price of my part of the collections which you sent. Thirdly, for now, it is appropriate that the biography should not be given to the deputies gratis. Those who ask for it should pay for it. But 10 to 20 copies should be kept in Ankara. Said Nursi.